Okay, so one of my favorite things about Witch Hat Atelier is in her introduction to magic, one of the first spells she ever sees is the glowstone pods made by Olrugio, which gets her to fall in love with magic and want to end up becoming a witch. And one of the first spells she ever actually writes down and casts ends up being a nice little firework light spell. However, before this, one of the first spells or things she ever says is a command of a cloak of flight, which doesn't actually work because that's not how magic works in this. However, later on, one of the first spells that she ends up making for herself ends up being a nice wind sigil that ends up actually turning into nice little cloak of flight. It's a little interesting, don't you think? I love looking at tropes in anime and manga. It's really fun figuring out new tropes after watching multiple shows, seeing how those tropes are played out, and seeing how the creators are able to change up these tropes throughout their series. Seeing as the first season of Witch Hat Atelier has recently come to an end, I actually want to talk about the trope of witches and magic, specifically non magic users entering the world of magic. Series I would like to be talking about would be Witch Hat Atelier, Iruma-kun, Welcome to Demon School, Little Witch Academia, The Owl House, and Marchen madchen. I want to point out some interesting similarities I found after watching these shows, and maybe you can find other instances of these in other shows you've watched. And I will be saying some spoilers, so be sure to watch the first few episodes of these if you don't want to actually be spoiled. I'll wait. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the hero's journey. A lot of shows, including these ones, take inspiration to the structure of the hero's journey. Now, what is the hero's journey? It is a narrative framework where a protagonist leaves their familiar world, faces trials, undergoes a transformation, and returns with a newfound gift and wisdom that they learned from that unknown. Now, to me, anime is similar but unique in its way of showing the hero's journey. We never really leave the unknown. The hero never returns with the gifts they are given, but mostly remains in the unknown and improves themselves over time. This is primarily because anime rarely ever finish, and is true about the series I am about to talk about, but one, which is The Owl House, which is a westernized cartoon, but still takes inspiration from many anime. And it ends with Luz, our protagonist, coming back home with her gifts, ending her hero's journey. Now, in the hero's journey, we usually see the supernatural aid. This I would like to change to the traveler and the guide. Our protagonists are usually empty shells with unique qualities that make them special and can help them in the positions they are given. We see this with Coco and her talents with lines when making sigils, and love for magic. Irma and his unique survival experience and ability to get out of any danger he is in. We also see this with Akko and her love for Shiny Chariot and her dreams of becoming a witch. These little quirks make us root for them and give us a character to put ourselves in. We're brought into their journey and experience the story from their perspective. And with every good journey into an unknown land, there is the guide, the person to explain to the viewer and our protagonist how the world works. For example, Paimon to the traveler in Genshin Impact. We also see this with characters like Kefri, Ida, and Sullivan. Part 3. The Group of Misfits. Now, after exploring this new world, our protagonist would often run into and even make friends with some outsiders, the weirdos, the ones who are different from the norm of this new world, and have made their own group of misfits. Now, we see this in Kefri's atelier and his apprentices, Tetia, Riche, and Agot, who are a special case in the witching world. Irma has the abnormal class, Luce gets the weirdos, and her friends, Willow and Gus, and Akko gets her friends, Lotte and Susie. These people will either show the similarities of our world or emphasize the differences both worlds have apart from each other. 4. The Rival. Now that we have met some of the locals, it's time to introduce our rival. This character will often be a thorn in our main character's side. They're often there to disapprove our protagonist's very existence. We see this with Agot towards Coco, Diana to Akko, Amity to Luz, and even Agathe towards Hazuki. They will often spot the flaws in the person, seeing them unfit to be a part of their world. But in time, they may end up being our hero's greatest companion when it comes to Part 5, The Trial and the Beast. While getting used to this new life, our hero will have to get their first trial or battle a beast. With the trials, we see this being tested with Coco at the Dada range and Hazuki being tested if she's able to wield her origin. And with facing the beast, we see this with Coco again facing the dragon, Luz with the owl beast, Iruma facing the guardian of Cutthroat Valley, and Akko fighting the cockatrice. Each of these trials provide a test to our protagonist to show how they face these obstacles with their limited knowledge and allow them to show the audience what they can do with Part 6, Their Own Magic. Having to survive now in these new environments, a main character will eventually find their own magic, often apart from the normal forms of magic. Luz discovers her own glyph magic, separate to the magic of this world, apart from the standard witches who have a separate biology unable to make normal spells. Coco also discovers that glyphs are an essential part of the witches in her world. Iruma and Akko are both given special items to allow them to utilize their magic, and Hazuki similarly gets her own magic, but ends up rewriting it so that that magic can suit her. Each of these people find their magic and make it their own. Now there's a greater thing they will have to face in this world. And that is Part 7, Order and Anarchy. With a new world, there's also a new structure, a different way they see the world, and a different way to govern it. Witch Hat Atelier has the Great Hall and the Knights Moralis. Irma has the 13 Crowns. The Owl House has Hexide Academy, the Coven system, and the Emperor's Coven. And Little Witch Academia has the Luna Nova Magical Academy. But there are groups set to shatter the structure that has been held for so long. The brimmed hats with witch hat atelier want witches to go back to the way they used to be, similar to Baal and the demon reformation movement and the Six Fingers in Iruma-kun, who also want demons to go back to the way that they used to be. And there's also Emperor Belus in the Owl House, who despises witches but has made it his mission to rule over them. These forces are always there in the background, plotting and scheming and pushing the rest of the world forward, while our protagonist continues to learn about this new world as we learn more with them. And hopefully, by the end, they have what it takes to confront this challenge. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to comment and subscribe if you want to hear me talk out of my ass again. I really like tropes and similarities in mediums, so I would like to talk about these stuff again. Well, that's all I have time for. I hope to see you again, if fate allows.